Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupad Ashtatra Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. I think you got a book. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, so this morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 31. Narada instructs the Prachetas, and we're on text 27. Can everybody see the board? I don't think Mike can see the board. Yo Naradad Atma Vidyam Adigamya Punor Mahim Bhuktva Vibhajya Putrebhya Aishvaram Samagat Param. Yes. Okay. Yeah, yo, not ya. Yo Naradat Atmavidyam Adigamya punarmahim Bhuktva vibhajya putrebhya Aishwaram samagat param Yo naradat atmavidyam Adigamya punarmahim Bhuktva vibhajya putrebhya Aishwaram samagat param Yo naradat atmavidyam Adigamya punarmahim Bhuktva vibhajya putrebhya Aishwaram samagat param Yaha, one who, Naradat, from the great sage Narada, Atmavidyam, spiritual knowledge, Adigamya, after learning, Punaha, again, Mahim, the earth, Bhuktva, after enjoying, Vibhajya, after dividing, Putrebhyaha, unto his sons, Aishwaram, transcendental, Samagat, achieved, Padam, position. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Although Maharaj Priyavrata received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home, back to Godhead. So I'll read the next text as well. This, actually, because what happened is, Rajendranath Prabhu, he spoke on this verse 27 and 28. 26, 27, and 28. So actually, today's verse is text 29, but I'll read 28 and then 29. So here's 28. My dear King, in this way, after hearing the transcendental messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees from the great sage Maitreya, Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy. With tears in his eyes, he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of his guru, his spiritual master. He then fixed the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart. Purport. This is a sign of associating with great devotees. A devotee takes instructions from a liberated soul and is thus overwhelmed by ecstasy from transcendental pleasure. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Naisham Batistavat Arukurmangrim Sprishat Yanartha Pagamo Yadartaha Mahiyasam Padarajobhishekam Nishkinchananam Navidnita Yavat. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 32. One cannot become a perfect devotee of the Lord without having touched the lotus feet of a great devotee. One who has nothing to do with this material world is called Nishkinchana. The process of self-realization and the path home, back to Godhead, means surrendering to the bona fide spiritual master and taking the dust of his lotus feet on one's head. Thus one advances on the path of transcendental realization. Vidura had this relationship with Maitreya, and he attained the results. All right, text 29. Sri Vidura said, O great mystic, O greatest of all devotees, by your causeless mercy I have been shown the path of liberation from this world of darkness. By following this path, a person liberated from the material world can return home, back to Godhead. Purport. This material world is called tama, dark, and the spiritual world is called light. The Vedas enjoin that everyone should try to get out of the darkness and go to the kingdom of light. Information of that kingdom of light can be attained through the mercy of a self-realized soul. One also has to get rid of all material desires. As soon as one frees himself from material desires and associates with the liberated person, the path back home, back to Godhead, is clear. Om Igyanativedandasya Gananjana Shavakaya Chakshulan Maditamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Kam Karitavachalam Pangam Langaite Girim Yak Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditaranam Vancha Kapadribishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, the living entity in this world is. You think you can give him that? Is plagued or harassed by so many different inconveniences, or as Srila Prabhupada said, living entity is being kicked around like a football. Prabhupada was talking about a soccer ball, because in India they call it football, right? Huh? Oh, I see. Every place in the world besides America calls it football. I guess we call it soccer. I think we're the only ones who drive on the right, too, right? No, there's other ones? Okay. Anyways. Vijay Prabhu knows because he's traveled all over. He has practical experience. So we're being harassed, we're being kicked around like a football, like a soccer ball, by these different miseries, by these different inconveniences, by these different difficulties. We're being harassed. But by taking shelter of Krishna consciousness, by taking shelter of the holy name, by taking shelter of the devotees, by placing oneself in the association of devotees, in the association of Krishna, one will feel relief from that. One will feel relief from the harassment. Now, of course, the relief one feels from the harassment is the impetus for the living entity to continue in their path to becoming fully Krishna conscious. And until one makes more and more progress, and one may still feel here and there the different harassments or the different inconveniences in material existence. And this freedom from being harassed or being, abused, really, by our own self-destructive tendencies and by, these different things in this world, this is all stemming from tama, or ignorance. In other words, people, they don't know what to do, and they really don't know. I mean, sometimes if we were able to step foot, or if we were able to walk in somebody's shoes for a day and understand the type of suffering they're undergoing, do you think you could close that door, Prakash, please? because somebody's there. I don't know who it is. Anyways, doesn't matter who it is, but it's kind of. But if we were able just to step foot and or walk in somebody's shoes, in other words, for a day to just experience the type of trauma they are undergoing, it's actually we have a hard time conceiving of it. It's hard to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, especially if we haven't had the experience. It's very difficult. Just like I was talking with somebody, and they're in rehab, and this person was telling one of the social workers about her addiction to a particular set of drugs, and this person was saying, oh, well, there's this drug, and there's that drug, and there's this drug, and there's that drug. And then the social worker said, oh, really? I didn't know about that one. And, oh, that's interesting. And then the person got upset. They said, oh, how do you not know? I mean, you're supposed to be helping me. You're supposed to be helping people, and you don't even know what this drug is. And from that, this addict was explaining to me how they lost faith in this person largely because the person couldn't really understand what that person was going through. That's why a lot of the times people who were addicts before, who are recovered, they do very well helping others get free because they have experience. They say, oh, this is how I suffered, this is how I struggled, this is what happened to me, and this is how I got free. And the person says, oh, really? The person went through it, so they listened to him. Of course, anyways, it's just an example, but it's hard to understand what people are going through. But at least we could try to understand, and at least we could try to develop a soft heart by which we could care about the other people. There's a lot of people to care for. There's like billions in this world, at least. Just like we have this, Leela Sukha. She's part of the child protection office here in North America, and she had the temples, the residents of the temples. They have to do some basic training in relation to child protection, some educational things, and this and that. So. Anyways, I took some of those courses, and they weren't long; it was brief, but it was very traumatic. Actually, these people telling their stories about them growing up and being abused, and I mean, they're scarred from that, and just listening to it, I mean. It's also very damaging. It's difficult for me just to hear it. And then, anyway, they sent something out. It was like 1 in 10 children are abused before the age of 18 in America here. It's a lot. So that the amount of trauma that has on an individual, it's very difficult to conceive of that if one themselves hasn't went through that, but that's one thing. There's many different traumas one could have in this world. So in other words, people are suffering. And Krishna consciousness has the ability to give people shelter, to free them from that suffering. And that's why Srila Prabhupada would urge devotees, right? Distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. He would urge them, right? He would urge them to become Krishna conscious, because we should also be Krishna conscious, not just distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Because the way we're able to distribute books for long, long periods of time is if we're Krishna conscious, right? It should be done in a Krishna conscious way too. So So those of us who have taken to Krishna consciousness, all of us here, I know everybody here, more or less, and I know everybody's history here, more or less. We have all greatly benefited from it. I know that because I've seen actually the majority of the devotees here, I think, anyways, we could say. I saw them when they came to Krishna consciousness, more or less, and I also saw the transformation. So in other words, it has helped us so much, actually. We're not feeling as much harassment as we did before. And we should remember that. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in the 6th canto, it's a short purport, I'll read it, but he mentions how we should view our past. Because a devotee, a practitioner, Bhakti Yoga practitioner, it's all about how we see things, right? How do we see the future? How do we see the past? How do we see other Vaishnavas? How do we see the population of the world, right? How do we see? It's all about the vision, right? So Prabhupada mentions about the past, and this is in the Ajamil delivered by the Vishnu Dutas, so which is a long account in itself, which we're not going to get into now. But Ajamil, this is 6th canto, chapter 2, text 34. 6:2:34. So Ajamil, briefly, Ajamil, he was a Brahmin. He was in Sattva Guna. He was a good person with all good qualities. He had a guru, right? He had a nice, chaste wife. He was in a good position. And he just went out to collect flowers, to collect fruits, to collect firewood for his guru. It's like somebody going out to shop, here at the temple. They go out to Restaurant Depot or something, right? He just went out for a day. And then he saw this low-class, means gross, sensual couple embracing. Of course, Prabhupada mentions in the purports how this is a common day occurrence in Kali Yuga, especially in the Western countries. So he is saying that we have to be very powerful by the chanting of Hare Krishna and to be protected from that. But this Ajamil saw this couple, and he could not erase this scene from his mind, and it just forced him to leave his chaste wife and try to look for this woman, which he found, and he got together with her and completely forgot about Krishna consciousness. So, but eventually he was on his deathbed, and the Yamadutas were taking him down, to the lower regions for due punishment for his sinful life. And then the Vishnu Dutas came because he chanted, Ajamil chanted Narayan, right? That's his son's name, which is a name for God. So then here in the 6:2:34, Ajamil, he's lamenting how he wasted his life. So it says here, Ajamil continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all-auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayan? Purport. So this is what Prabhupada says in relation to how do we see our past. Those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayan, Krishna, through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. So what is our position before we came and what it is now? We had fallen into abominable lives as meat eaters, drunkards, and woman hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches, and we should use this good fortune to chant the holy name of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. We must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions, and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. Prabhupada's saying we had fallen into abominable lives of bad habits, right? And but now we're given the ability to chant Hare Krishna. We should appreciate it. And we must be conscious of the difference between our present and our past conditions, and should be careful not to fall back. So, if we have been freed, at least to some degrees, if we're feeling the freedom of Krishna consciousness to at least some degree, then we should be careful to continue to make progress and not fall back. Yes, hello, Hare Krishna. And not fall back. And so getting out of ignorance, it's a whole process, it's a whole journey, right, to get out of ignorance. Sometimes we may get out of, like this Ajamil. He was not in ignorance. He was in goodness. He was a good Brahmin. He was not in ignorance, but he was attacked by ignorance, and then he couldn't fight it. So it may happen that we may be attacked here and there, but we have to fight it. We have to take shelter of the devotees. We have to take shelter of the holy name. And we should try to positively engage ourselves. This is how we stay out of trouble. We have to positively engage ourselves, right? In other words, we've joined this movement. We're impressed by Srila Prabhupada. We're impressed by the books, Srila Prabhupada's books. We may have been impressed by the devotees, right? And it's a revolutionary movement, right? It's supposed to create a revolution within ourselves. It's supposed to be a revolutionary movement in relation to creating a revolution in the world, San Diego and Pacific Beach, right? But in order for that revolution to take place within ourselves and within wherever we are, right? We have to not be satisfied with sitting on the sidelines, right? Because nowadays it's very... Now I know devotees have different services where it requires them to be in an office for many, hours a day, if not all day, and I'm not, referring to things like that, but nowadays it's very easy, actually. I'm talking about people who don't have designated, service per se. It's very easy just to hide away in one's ashram or one's apartment or one's house or in one's car or whatever. It's very easy just to hide away, right? Like right now I'm giving a talk. There's people not here right now. There's some people listening, I think, online. Some devotees listening online. I don't exactly know who they are, but some are listening. Yeah. So, and yeah, maybe due to this reason or that reason they can't come. Okay, sure. I'm also not referring to that, but I'm referring to excessive, solitude, in which we cut ourselves off from the world, we cut ourselves off from the other Vaishnavas, right? And we become super, hyper critical, right? Like right now I'm giving a talk, someone may not like it. And they may give me a thumbs down. Because on YouTube you could, press that button, thumbs down. And that's, fine, it's all right. If they want to give me a thumbs down, that's all right. But I would say that for those people, okay, give me a thumbs down, sure. But Don't sit behind your computer. Don't sit behind your phone ad infinitum, expecting a revolution in your heart or within the world. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, get out on the street, Harinam, book distribution. Okay, there's also internet preaching. Do it. Open a preaching center. If you don't like how this temple is, or how that temple is, or et cetera, then open a preaching center. But just to sit and not do anything, that's not good. that's violence, actually, towards ourselves and towards others. That's destructive. And we may read the Goswami literature, right, till hell freezes over, which I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a saying. In other words, for a long time, right? And we may be sitting behind our computer and, giving thumbs down to whatever, me or whoever. Okay, fine. But we should be interested in what Prabhupada was interested in. And Prabhupada wasn't just sitting behind his computer, giving thumbs down and, reading Goswami literature until hell freezes over. But Srila Prabhupada was he gave his life, his blood, everything for the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Everything. Every last ounce of energy Srila Prabhupada had, he gave it all for helping people. And that's what it means to be a follower of Prabhupada. To give everything to the service of to others, to helping them. And to put aside our differences and meet together. Like we're having a Harinam today. Devotees are going on book distribution today. So whoever's, I don't know who's listening, but and I'm not, anyways, it's however everybody wants to relate it to themselves, but the Harinam is in Pacific Beach, Boardwalk. You can't miss us. You'll be hearing the drums, and if you go to the temple and you just walk straight down and you walk on the boardwalk there, there'll be a Harinam down there. Time is from 12 to 4 at least? Yeah. So devotees could join. And you'd say, well, I don't like you, Balaram. It's all right, well. I don't want to be there if you're there. Well, if you don't like me, then maybe I could say, maybe you should rise above that. Likes and dislikes, friends and enemies, right? That's what Prahlad Maharaj says. I'm also trying. Or you could say, maybe you should have some mercy on me. If you think I'm so fallen and so poisonous that you can't associate with me, then come have mercy on me. Come chant. Or if you really don't want anything to do with me or with or the Harinam here, then start your own Harinam. Go out on Harinam. Go somewhere else. Go out with the Mridanga. Bhakti Avatar Prabhu, he doesn't let. If he doesn't have anyone to go on a Harinam with, he'll just go out by himself. Because sometimes it's hard, getting a group. He'll just go out by himself, drama and stuff. Anyways, so to become a follower of Srila Prabhupada means to be absorbed in Harinam, japa, Harinam, going out on the streets, chanting, to feel this impetus, this urge to help others, jiva doya, right, to have some mercy on the suffering living entities. To serve the Vaishnavas, we should practically serve the Vaishnavas in different ways. Somehow or other, we should try to figure out how to do that. There's different ways to serve the devotees, and to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's main One of his main instructions, if not main instruction, Chernada pisu nichena toroda pisu hishna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. To endeavor, because it's not so easy, but to try, right? We should try to be as humble as a blade of grass, and as tolerant, more tolerant than a tree, and to be ready to offer all respects to others. Means we have to be ready, because people are going to come to us and they're not going to be respecting us, but we should be very respectful to them. To be ready to offer all respects to others and not expect any respect in return. And in such a state, one could chant constantly, or one can engage in Krishna service constantly. One can do, in other words, we shouldn't see ourselves as a big or small or medium, whatever, boss. We're not. We're never going to be the boss. Even if we're a big guru or something. Big guru means big servant. They don't think themselves boss. Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, Dasosmi, to his disciples. He would say, actually, I'm your servant, So we should think ourselves as the servants of each other, and practically be servants of each other, or of the other Vaishnavas, specifically. Just like I was in Las Vegas some time ago at the temple. Oh. It's a strange place to have a temple, but very important to have a temple in Las Vegas, because there's a lot of sinful activity or evil activity going on there. Sin City, right? Vega means urge, right? Urges of the senses. That's where people go to satisfy their urges. But I was there, and I was talking with two devotees. Sometimes these couples, they have kind of funny names. They go together. Or even, anyways, but they're a couple, married, and her name was Jyoti, and his name was Deepak. So Deepak is like a lamp, and then Jyoti is a light. So, anyways, Deepak and Jyoti. So I was talking with them, and then they had two daughters, and younger daughters, and then they're all there, and I asked the daughters, the parents were there. I asked the daughter. I asked the two daughters or sisters. I said, "So who's the boss? Which one of you are the boss?" And they both went like this. They pointed to each other. So I said, "Oh, that's really good," because I ask, sometimes I ask devotees, the children. Sometimes I say, "Oh, who's the boss?" And they go, "Oh, I'm the boss. I'm the boss," or the other one, "I'm the boss." I've had it happen many times. So I'm the boss. But I asked these two. They went like this. They pointed at each other. I said, "Well, that's pretty good. Krishna conscious." So, so that's how we should see that. We should see ourselves as servants, and this is what it means to actually be free from ignorance. Because ignorance means false ego. It means false identification. It means false conceptions. Because there's a false ego, but then based around the false ego means it's expanded into false conceptions. Right? I am this body. Everything in relation to this body is mine. Right? So, but we think I am not this body. I'm spirit, soul, and I am a servant of the devotees. I'm a servant of Krishna. That's real ego. So yeah, in conclusion, we shouldn't waste our time, because there's so many ways to do that actually. But we should just try to focus on the essence of life. That's actually what it means to be a Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa means we extract the essence from life, or things, or situations, or people. Not in a weird way, but we extract the essence, right? Just like we're going to end here, but just like a swan, Paramahamsa means, right, the supermost swan-like devotee. They extract the essence. So a swan, I don't know if Bhajanarayan Swami, he figured this out somehow, but they say that a swan can extract milk from water. How do you do that? Because the milk and water are mixed. So somehow the Bhajanarayan Swami found out that a swan has certain enzymes in their mouth that when they come in contact with milk and water, they're able to curdle the milk and then take the milk and then and leave the water. So in other words, again, a devotee takes the essence of things, right? So instead of becoming so overwhelmed, so focused on, so distracted by, so disturbed by, of the undertakings and overtakings, I don't know if that makes any sense, but of this world, upheavals of this world, right? And so many different things like that, focus on the essence. And what's the essence? What does it mean to act free from ignorance? What does it mean to act in Krishna conscious? What does it mean to move towards the light or move towards, the spiritual world? It means to focus on three things, right? Which we mentioned before. Harinam means chanting, right? Japa, very sincerely, very seriously. Prabhupada says like a baby crying for its mother. We have to cry out, get to the point where we're crying out for Krishna. Harinam, Sankirtan, going out on the streets. Jivadoya means showing mercy to the living entities. Like we were discussing, we feel some relief, right? So we should also help others by extending the message of Krishna in different ways. There's book distribution. There's the internet. There's all types of social media to get people attracted. There's so many things could be done there as well. There's so many ways to show mercy to the living entities, and then serving the Vaishnavas, serving the devotees, different ways, trying to figure out what we could do with our skill set, with our mind, with our intelligence, trying to rack our intelligence how to do that. And we shouldn't neglect any of those processes. If we neglect it, we have an unbalanced diet, right? Like for example, today for breakfast, we're going to have a balanced diet, I think. Anyways, we're going to have a balanced diet. You have some grains, rice, you have some beans, you have some wheat, you have some, fruit, you have a balanced diet. Now, if we were just to say, okay, everybody, now today for breakfast, we're going to serve everybody burfi, Now, only, it's shipped in from, actually I went to Gita Nagari, so many cows are there, it's such a good example there, but anyways, they gave us all different types of things, burfis and different things from the cows. They're protected cows, but so we got some, burfi shipped in from Gita Nagari, first class, from protected cows, Mahaprasad, from Radha Damodar, because Radha Damodar is there too, the deities. That's all we're serving for breakfast, everybody. Is everybody going to be satisfied with that? Now, I don't know, maybe somebody would, but but the fact is, if we were to do that on a daily basis, on a regular basis, it's just not healthy, So we need a balanced diet. Grains, beans, and burfi, yeah. So yeah, we have. So this is a balanced diet, right? We have Harinam, we have taking shelter of the holy name, we have showing mercy to the living, serving the Vaishnava. This is balanced, and this is how we feel also nurtured. So, all right. So tomorrow, Bajranarayan Swami will give class, and he'll finish this the last 2 verses on purport, 1 purport, 2 verses, and then we end 4th canto. That's it. Then we're going into the 5th canto, which should be a very interesting, amusing canto to go through. There's many wonderful things in that canto. You have Lord Rishabhadev. You have also the structure of the universe and all this going on. There's a lot. Hellish planets, right? Oh, it's a long prose going on. So we're going to be starting 5th canto tomorrow. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Shavita Prabhu?
Well, in the purport you read, which one was it? The last purport you read?
Yes.
What number was that?
29.
29. I'm sorry. It's interesting that Prabhupada said, it's very important here, and this is a memorable purport that we should always remember.
Oh, you're talking about the 6th canto.
No. Oh, is that where I am? The 6th canto? No, the one. No, the actual verse you read.
About
where we should always remember.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was in the 6th canto.
Yeah, this is 6:234. That's what I read.
Sorry, yeah. So, one thing I noticed there, because I'm always looking involuntarily at the editing. Prabhupada used this term "we." That we.
Yeah.
We should always remember, because what our position was, we had fallen into abominable lives as medias. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. And then it says, by the grace of Lord, we are opening many branches. So,
yeah.
I know the Prabhupada identifies that. Nisha, of course, has never fallen.
Yeah.
But it's then what came to mind is this phrase. Many of you may have heard this before. This idea of pay it forward. That's more or less the impetus for preaching. Krishna consciousness is that we've been so much benefited that we should help others. It's kind of a standard thing, but that became very famous. And it's important to do that. It's almost like keeping the flow of the mercy going. Otherwise, you're blocking it. If you just get the mercy and show mercy to others.
Yeah.
So the whole movement, it grows on the basis of that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Prabhupada said he's saying we here. Oh, yeah. Abominable activities and that, but Prabhupada was asked about his past and his life and different cases, and Prabhupada said, "Oh yes, by the mercy of Krishna, I could say that I never knew what illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating is." He said, although I had full facility to engage in those things, he said I never did that. So, yeah. There's also this very wonderful, it's a short purport here, and it's also the 6th canto, chapter 2, text 27. It's in the same light. I was going to, anyways, but I'll just read it, because he said, this is the purport, "This is the mentality of one who is becoming a pure devotee." First of all, I'll read the translation, because, "Alas, all condemnation upon me. I acted so sinfully that I degraded my family tradition. Indeed, I gave up my chaste and beautiful young wife to have sexual intercourse with a fallen prostitute accustomed to drinking wine. All condemnation upon me." Purport: This is the mentality of one who is becoming a pure devotee. When one is elevated to the platform of devotional service by the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master, one first regrets his past sinful activities. This helps one advance in spiritual life. The Vishnudutas have given a Jamil the chance to become a pure devotee, and the duty of a pure devotee is to regret his past sinful activities in illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Not only should one give up his past bad habits, but he must always regret his past sinful acts. This is the standard of pure devotion. So, anyways. All right, does anybody... Yes, Damodar Kumar Prabhu.
Is it just me, or is Vijay Krishna here too?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, yes, I'm here.
Did you want to ask the question first?
I think you could...
No, I have a question, but I can wait.
I can go after him. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, may I?
Go for it.
Okay, Prabhu, Balaram Prabhu, my obeisances. My question is related to you saying during your class that in relation to going with you to Harinam, and you said maybe you won't go with me because maybe you do not like me, etc., etc. So, Prabhu, my question is as follows: you are handsome, you are knowledgeable, you have so many, you are attractive in so many ways, always well dressed. Why is it that I would be there not liking you in relation to going for Harinam with you? Is it that there is anything I should know that about you that would put me like not liking you? I'm confused here.
That's not
Well, well, I mean, you know, there's I don't know. I mean, maybe there's different. You know, there's just like anybody else. My heart's not. I'm not claiming to have a clean heart, so maybe that people will see that. You know, because yeah. But anyways, what are you saying, Prabhu?
Well, in relation to my opinion,
Vijay Krishna.
I love you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just to give my interpretation of what that whole meant, is that Balaram was giving himself as an example of an attitude that one might have about anyone on the party, and more generally, don't find some material reason not to go on Harinam. I mean, more likely, you know, someone will find, well, I'm a little tired today, you know, and these guys, you know, they're not so pure or whatever. In other words, there's so many reasons not to go, but there's an overall, you know, impetus why one should go, especially if one is a devotee or claims to be a devotee, and that is to give mercy to other people. I'm going to try to find some time to get on, although I'm very busy, since it's so close. I should definitely try to go. What was the time again it's going to start?
12 to 4, about.
And where are you going to start? At
the boardwalk. There's like a main, if you just walk down to the boardwalk here, and then just going up and down the boardwalk, there's only a small section where we set up because there's a bunch of people setting up these days because there's a new law in San Diego, which is allowing just like anybody and everybody to sell any, you know, valuable or not so valuable junk they want.
Style thing, or is it going
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Anyways, I'm not exactly. I'm sure people could find, you know, faults with me, so that's why. All right, thank you, Vijay Prabhu. Yes.
Balaram Prabhu, again, I love you very much.
Thank you.
You got to come on Harinam then.
Yes. I'm going for the buying of the ticket this very moment. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, Damodar Kumar Prabhu.
All right, just to shift the mood and bring in some gravity. I have a question. You had mentioned your first couple examples you gave in the beginning of your class. You mentioned how a person that has been through a particular experience is more effective than a person who is more effective in cultivating or helping a person who's going through something, right? So, and then you gave the example of the drug abuser, and then you also gave the example of people who have been traumatized through bad sexual abuse and all such things. And when we actually, you also gave this information that 1 in every 10 girls are abused.
Oh, yeah, just children, yeah.
Children before the age of 18. And it's like, we live in Kali Yuga where trauma is just the norm.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like your dad stepped out on you, or your girlfriend cheated on you, or your dad was a drug abuser, or you're molested as a kid, or you had insecurities about your physical, you know, your weight or whatever could make fun of you. There's so many things to be traumatized about.
Yeah.
And taking to the spiritual path is actually a term to it where you just fully take to the spiritual path, and then you just don't address these issues that you had in life. So could you expand on the necessity to address and actually process those experiences, so and actually make a plus from a negative and grow from those struggles?
Yeah. All right. It's, I mean, so much of life is a maturing process, you know, or yeah, and when we talk about trauma, it's also a healing process, maturing, healing, you know. And sometimes it's extremely difficult, actually, to just heal. You know, like there's this devotee in, you know, Las Vegas, and he lost his son. And it's very difficult, you know, for him and his wife to deal with that. Young son in a car accident. Means he was like in his 20s or something. And, you know, people may know the philosophy, this and that, but it's difficult, you know. Sometimes it just takes a lot of time, you know, to heal those wounds, you know. But practically for a devotee, whatever trauma, whatever difficulty, whatever fire of ordeal we have to go through or that we've already been through, we should try to see it as a way that, as a way or as an impetus for me to surrender more, me to really, you know, beg Krishna, you know, the Vaishnavas, you know, really call out and you know, serve our spiritual master and so on. Now, of course, there's so many different ways in which people could try to process their trauma, their difficulties, and, you know, like His Holiness Radhanath Swami, they have, and Niranjana Swami, they have different systems of, you know, counseling and so on. And, you know, there's Shiksha gurus, there's different, therefore, Rupa Goswami is saying, Dadati Pritagrinati, we should reveal our minds, you know, to the Vaishnavas. Now, of course, in some cases, some things just may be, you know, very, very difficult to deal with, and I mean, we may, you know, the people just may need some, hopefully, devotee professional help, you know. Like Prabhupada there was this woman a devotee in Juhu, and she was having a hard time mentally. And then Prabhupada, he said, you know, she could go to a hospital and, you know, talk with those people, and I think even said something about some type of medication. But of course, I mean, this is kind of like you know, some people say no, some people say yes, this and that. But Prabhupada, I have to get the exact reference, so don't absolutely quote me on it, but it is there in the Juhu book that Prabhupada was saying that she could take some medical help, you know, dealing with her mind. So that's there. But the main thing is to try to use it for the betterment of the world, for people, ourselves, or maybe bad experiences. I mean, just like to kind of conclude here is that there was this woman who wanted to commit suicide here in San Diego. And she had a young daughter of like, I don't know, I think it was like, I don't know, really young, like 3 years old or something, young. So this woman, she said, okay, you know, I've had enough, whatever trauma she went through, and it's just too much. And then she got in her car and she drove to Coronado, the bridge there, crossing into Coronado Island. There's a big bridge. And, you know, many people have, unfortunately jumped there and committed suicide. But, so she said, I'm going to do that. So she went there, and she went with her daughter. And she parked her car there. Of course, I mean, you can imagine seeing that, you know, somebody park, because, you know, people are there on the bridge. So imagine someone stopping their car, getting out. It's very... So anyway, she did that, and then she got her daughter, and, yeah. They jumped off. She jumped off with her daughter, and she hit the water, and she was holding her daughter. And then there was these boatmen there, you know, going fishing or whatever. And then they see this happen, and then, you know, they try to capture this woman with the daughter. So they managed to get this woman and the daughter into the boat, and then they managed to get her to the hospital. And then you know, the woman died, but the daughter, the young 3-year-old daughter, she lived, and she, you know, she was broken, this and that, but she lived, and she, you know. Then, you know, fast forward, she grows up, and then she, her parents and her family never tells her about it, like ever. So she just knows, oh, my mom died, and she's thinking she died in a car accident or something. And, so then some time passes, and she sees some news clip or something, some video, and then she's like, wait, she realized that was my mom, and that was me, and I lived through it. And I don't know if I think she lives in L.A., but anyways, from that, she's able to tell that story, and then she's also able to try to help people, not commit suicide, based on that story, and she's tried to do something good, which of course it's not, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, okay, if you could fully surrender to me, right? Which covers everything. You're helping yourself, you're helping the world. And if you can't do that, do this, do that. And then he goes down. And if you can't do that, then just, give some charity. Don't just be a selfish, person. So Krishna's given some... so yeah, it's what this woman's doing, she's trying to help. So... but specifically in relation to the class, like we were discussing, we've been helped so much by Krishna consciousness. Right? We've been saved practically. How does it feel to be saved? So we should try to extend that kindness, extend that mercy. From this story we could glean from ourselves, Practically we're on a suicidal course. But yeah, there's different ways of dealing with that, trauma. So anyways, I hope that touched on it to some degree. Okay, Bajranarayan Swami.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's all right.
First off, that was an excellent answer.
Thank
It
you.
really was an excellent answer. I was just going to say there was a man who jumped off the Coronado Bridge. I was a president, so 1980 something, And he survived, broke practically every bone in his body, same thing, he survived. And here was the thing, when he finally could talk and all this stuff, here's what he said. He said, the minute I stepped off the bridge and free falling, he said, the minute he stepped off the bridge, he said, it hit me that all the bad decisions I'd made in my life could be remedied, except for my most recent one. I mean, his decision to jump off the... Not much he could do about that, but everything else he realized. So there's always a way out,
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a way out. So there's always an escape, escape from the suffering door, to take. So, yeah. There's always the Krishna conscious door there, just walk through. So the sun's always shining, right? We just got to walk outside. Well, anyways, it's always shining here in San Diego. A lot of time it is. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.